Hello, the internet. My name is Alejandro Rose Garcia, but you might know me as Shakey Graves. I'm here at Webster Hall, where I played the first of the 2 nights we're doing. This is all real sweat. It's not prosthetic. And I'm here to answer some of your cyber questions. So I believe what the staff have told me is that we're going to cyber. So I don't know what that means, but let's go. Let's cyber. Let's go. B1 Big Boy. Oh, Big Boy Pants. All right. Big Boy Pants says, do you have any pre-show rituals? No. No, actually we do. Usually we do some sort of, since I play part of the show by myself, part of it with the band, we try and do some sort of a uniting moment. At the very least, we all have to touch each other intimately. But in reality, we usually just do a shot. Or a small ceremonial shot. It doesn't have to be an actual shot, but a small sip of the same beverage is something that we do. And for whatever weird reason, it has become vodka. So I don't recommend ever just taking shots of vodka, but unfortunately, that's where we are. So question 2 is not my dad. Okay, not your dad. Or maybe it's like Notre Dame, Notre Dad. Great. What's your favorite spot to get tacos in Austin? Are you kidding me? You're definitely not. You're not my dad. Shit. This is like wading into the crossfire here, as we talked about. Okay, my favorite place to get tacos, I'm gonna go ahead and say, is not Torchy's. So deal with it. Whoever's watching this and is like, "Oh my God, I came there." It's not the place. I personally prefer. Depends on what it is. All Around is a local chain called Aranda's, which I'm pretty sure is there's Aranda's and Arandina's, and I've seen Aranda's in other places, but my local neighborhood one is Aranda's number 5. It's near my house growing up. And I'm not talking about frilly tacos or Mexican food. This is just big red plastic Coca-Cola cups and dirt cheap food, and always good. Another place that I love that has totally won me over because I initially said I don't care and then I was wrong is a place called El Taquerito, which there are 2 of. And they happen to be a drive-through that's open until midnight, which is really helpful for all sorts of situations. And they do breakfast tacos all day long. They do tortas. And they have an incredible green salsa. So if you're going to get the salsa, get the green salsa. It's effervescent. All right, let's go. Like a Riot wants to know, what's the story behind the name Shakey Graves? There's a YouTube video about that. You should watch. Basically, me and my butthole friends went to, there's a music festival called Old Settlers Music Festival. And I had moved to California, and I was real young, and I was really lonely, and I wanted to come back to Austin, but I didn't want to fuck with my family, to be quite honest. I didn't want it to be like an event that I came home. Literally, my best friend on earth was working at this festival, and he was doing trash crew. So he was driving around in a golf cart hauling people's garbage, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun because I'm stranded in Hollywood right now. And I'm dirt poor, and I basically am garbage anyway, so this would work out great. And so I flew home. We didn't tell anybody. He picked me up at the airport, drove me out. I didn't have a pass, and so he literally put me in the trunk of his car and drove me through the gates of this music festival. And we proceeded to, I wasn't able to leave and see certain ones of the shows because if I did, I wouldn't be able to get back in. But it's one of those festivals that is sort of like what happens in the jam world, you know, and in the Vermonts and so on and so forth, sort of a string festival. So at night there were like campfires everywhere and people playing guitar music. And I had just started to write songs that I felt like I could actually show to people. And so I went out and would play guitar at night. And basically one of the days we were hanging out, and a guy came up to our campsite who was visibly inebriated on psychedelic drugs. And I don't know what, but he was hilarious and not making a lot of sense, but making a lot of sense at the same time, kind of shit. And we chatted it up. We had a really weird conversation, me and our 4 friends, and and he had like a really big 24-ounce Miller High Life that he had been carrying around for, you know, countless hours, and there wasn't that much beer in it left. And he was like, "This whiskey is delicious. Would you guys like to try it?" And we were like, "Sure." and we all pretended to drink out of his gross hot beer. And then he was like, "You guys are good people." And sort of when he wandered off, the last thing we heard him say was some sort of cautionary thing about like, be mindful of spooky wagons. And we were like, did he say like spooky wagons? And then we started to kind of talk about it, and we were like, well, maybe Spooky Wagons is like a really good Nashville guitar picker name, like Speedy West or something like that, where you're like, pick, pick, pick. And he's like, oh, Spooky Wagons, Waggins. And so we all gave each other dumb names and didn't really think twice about it. I was Shakey Graves, and my buddy was Spooky Wagons, and his girlfriend at the time was Spinster Jones. And our other buddy was Solomon Doors, which I like because it means you're like sad inside, you're Solomon Doors, whatever. And then notoriously, my friend's little brother was asleep while all this was happening because he was taking a Fiesta party nap. And we were cooking hot dogs, and so we just named him Droopy Wieners. And he has now sort of become the most famous of the clan because of his stupid name. And that's where I got my stupid name. And so I would go around and play guitar, and when people would say, "What's your name?" I would say, Shakey Graves. And they said, okay. And I said, that's weird that you accepted that. Andy89BK. Huh? That's all you got? All right. I became a fan after... Oh, sorry. You're a fan. Okay, sorry. I love your name. I became a fan after seeing you play the CMJ Music Marathon in 2012. What was it like playing those earlier shows? Chaos. Pure, unadulterated fucking psychopath chaos. You're talking about CMJ. I think I played at a bar on Houston Street. In case you guys don't know what that is, that's a New York thing. It's Houston. They just say it wrong. I've just been picking fights with New York stuff all night. Sorry. It's perfect. But I played at some weird bar where the stage was literally like the size of this table, width-wise. And, I did some music showcases, and that was really hectic, and honestly, it was a great excuse to come to this glorious city and hang out. And I do love a creepy, like, barn burner, intimate bar show. That was kind of where intimate's the wrong word, a loud, horny, confusing, sweaty bar show is kind of where I came out of. And that's why I developed the suitcase and do the whole thing. I didn't really set out to play luggage, but... eventually I realized that I had to be louder than bar patrons, and thus a fart was born. Dirty Frets 86. What did you miss the most about touring? Being just dragged to new places, like not having to actually plan anything. And people are like, "Oh, where'd you play last night?" I'm like, "Oh." And they're like, "Where are you playing tomorrow?" I'm like, "I don't know." And that's a little hyperbole. It's not really like that. But it is a magical... I feel really, really blessed and consistently grateful that the thing that I love turned into something that I could even consider a job. It's a double-edged sword about that. But the fact that touring's involved isn't really what I set up to do. But because of that, I've gotten to see more things in the United States and Canada and abroad or whatever than I would have ever found out on my own. So I suppose what I missed the most about it was the cold, hard reality of lessons you don't set out to learn, but you just find out along the way. And also friends. And touring feels a lot like, I don't know. I'm sure it's not the same whatsoever, but it feels like you're on a yellow submarine. But it feels like, it sort of feels battle-like, which is very strange because I'm not gonna I don't think that I'm gonna join a submariner crew at this point in my life, but you never know. But in lieu of that, I get to travel around in a big metal tube with a bunch of my companions and not die potentially. So, bacon, egg, and steez, huh? That's tight. What new music have you been listening to lately? Oh God, and I've been listening to a band called Crumb. I like Crumb a lot. I've liked everything that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard have put out. It's weird coming out of my mouth because I remember seeing that name for the first time and I was like, ha, King Gizzard, Wizard. My friend was like, you don't know what that band sounds like? And I was like, no. And I was like, you'll like it. And I do. I also found this. I won't be able to remember it. It's a. Look, I'm not even gonna mention. It's just like old, confusing Canuto music. It sounds like babies are playing. It's like. Also, side note today, if you don't know who Vicente Fernandez is, he died. He's like Mexican Elvis. And there are some incredible. When I lived in L.A., my crazy next door neighbor Fernie Fern, was like, "You don't know who Vicente Fernandez is?" And I was like, "No." And he showed me. I mean, you would not believe the shows that this man has played. It's like everyone's grandma crying all at the same time while this guy in an insane mariachi outfit drinks tequila or fake tequila on stage. It is the most mind-shattering stuff. Anyway, he passed away today, so R.I.P. Vicente. But honestly, I'm bad at listening to new music right now. I go through cycles. Something I always check out is something called the Numero Group, which is a record label that reissues old, defunct record labels and weird musical scenes, and they put together this gorgeous stuff. And you can track their playlist down, but it's like if you like obscure, confusing music, the Numero Group is you can't go wrong. If you find any of those records, it's incredible. From somewhere in the Andes. God, I hope so. I hope you're in the Andes right now. What's your advice for someone making music and trying to find their own voice? Just do it compulsively. I think the same thing goes for anybody who's trying to be a writer or a copyright attorney. Or hey, look, I don't know. Refrigerator salesman. You got to sell the goods. You got to do the stuff. So if your dream is to play in front of people, play in front of people you don't know. And take the awful lessons that come with that. And if people don't like it and you feel like there's something about it that you want to change, learn. It's kind of a weapons and armor thing. Also, being yourself is just something that no one can do but you. Hey, reading Rainbow. But for real, you got to just learn to harden yourself, and the fact that sometimes you being you is maybe not even what you want to be someday. So I think growth is important, and one of the best parts about making music is to surprise yourself. And if you ever make something that you personally like, it does mean that there's going to be somebody else that likes that. It's not as lonely of a world as it seems like sometimes. And that's kind of the point. It's connection. So good luck. Oh, a 10-gallon girl for 20. That's a song lyric from a really horny song that me and my buddy wrote in New York. What's the process for figuring out your stage design? Do you travel with your own lighting director? This is a great question. It changes all the time. My dad was a set and light designer when I was he did that a long time ago when I was a little kid. I come from a theater background and stuff, and my mom is a director and an actress, and basically, I feel really blessed that I've gotten to see a bunch of really bizarre things growing up, and so I do have a baseline that what I want isn't always what I do, and so part of it is my inspirations a lot. Stop Making Sense was a big inspiration for Minimalist into the Talking Heads movie, into building a set, because I think part of it is that I don't think you need a set unless you really want one, but lights are crazy. I didn't have anyone who was doing my lights except for a house person up until maybe 4 years ago. And I think it's perfectly fine to not overthink that, but if you have a vision, it's really important. Right now we work with a guy named Mikhail, and he was doing lights for Dr. Dog, and we were on tour with them, and his light show was amazing. And our light designer was incredible also, but Mikhail happens to have this very, I don't know, he's got a brilliant angle on it. It's very minimalist at times, and he uses color really well, and we're really lucky to have him. So that's kind of just the path has illuminated certain people. And at times we've traveled with a set. I built a set out of random stuff. I took some stuff from when we made the Kids These Days music video and made these kind of cityscape things, and then built clouds out of Chinese lanterns and spray adhesive like pillow stuffing all over them, and then stuffed LED lights in them, and really painted them really badly with glow paint. And then we used to get Home Depot workshop lights that had a push button switch, and we would all turn on our stations when we'd go to them. And that was one of my favorite things that we set up. I think practical effects that you interact with are amazing. But it's also really nice to be able to go on overdrive and just not think about it and have the set and lights be like, you know. I recommend going to see or watching the movie about David Byrne's new thing, the American Utopia show. It's insane. Bestie Cyril. Oh, Bestie Cyril. Besties in real life. Woo! Speaking internet on the internet. Okay, great. What inspires you to continue creating art? Compulsion, just kind of like itchy compulsion. I think a desperate urge to try and process everything that happens in life all the time. Sometimes stuff is so outrageously beautiful and ironic and sad, and if I wasn't able to tell somebody, it would just hurt all the more, I guess. And what I've personally found is that music can say less and say more somehow by, adding music to words. And sometimes some of the songs that move me the most don't really have any legible or understandable words, or I don't know. I think it's just a compulsion to connect, and in lack of being able to do like a Vulcan mind meld and show you what my mind is like, I try and do it through art. Oh, one final question for tonight. Dun, 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 dun. Hyundai wants to know how I would like to see live entertainment evolve in the future. Okay, this is a great question. How I'd like to see it evolve in the future is that, so I read this book about Altmont. Do you know what that is? No? Oh, crazy. So it was this music festival that happened that was basically right after Woodstock, and a bunch of people died, a little like the Travis Scott thing, too soon. But it was way crazier because it was music festivals didn't even exist at all. And this wasn't that long ago. So basically, I also watched the Woodstock 99 thing recently. My thing is that the way that we're absorbing music right now, as far as festivals are concerned, is in sorry, it's my mom just walked in. Basically how festivals and mass music is absorbed and viewed is totally made up. There wasn't even a public address system or a PA or monitors like 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So all of this stuff has happened really rapidly, and essentially the way that modern concerts are designed is just based on what's been happening right now. Anything could happen. Imagine that you see a concert that drives around your, neighborhood, or, basically with stuff like COVID, if it's important to stay away from people. I got to play drive-in shows for the first time, and a bunch of stuff like that. So I'm just saying what I'd like to see for the future of live entertainment is that thinking outside the box is key, and this isn't a car. This isn't something that is designed specifically. This is just kind of the smartest way we figured it out right now. So we can go and see music as small or as large as we want. If being in a big feeding trough doesn't suit you, don't do it. Build something else. Build a better stage. Let's go. Oh, I'm supposed to do my own sign-off. My name is Shakey Graves. I'm coming to you from the dungeon where they keep the artists underneath Webster Hall. I'm playing 2 nights. And thank you so much for being on Twitch, and good luck. Eat some food, drink some water, make good decisions.